Hi there folks, welcome to RRTV's live and exclusive coverage of the Blancpain Endurance Series. We're coming to you live tonight from Zolder, and we've got a huge field here, but before we get into it, I'd like to welcome Alex McCullough. He normally joins me for the skippies. Tonight I've coaxed him out to join me for the Blancpain Endurance Series. So Alex, here we are, mate.
Oh, Bernie, thanks, mate. Yeah, excited to be here. Very nervous to be here, actually, to be honest. As I said to you before, we're not playing in my home court tonight. I've done a bit of racing in these in the past, but certainly not at this level of field, not at this calibre, and certainly not this number of participants, mate. It's massive, but very excited to be here, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is massive, and hopefully we'll get a few viewers having a look at this. We're just having a look at the Australian teams after one drop round, and it's quite interesting, isn't it? Because we've got Element Motorsports currently sitting about 6th and looking good for qualification after this qualifying series finishes. Having a look further down, we've got TTLR Red sitting in 15th, ERA 18th, so they're pretty much on the cusp, aren't they? So they've got to probably push a bit more, but saying that 28 go through, so they're fairly safe, I would say. What's the other one? And we've got Buttercup out there for Black Adam Motorsports. I'm just seeing where they are at the moment.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've had a look a bit at the current standings for this, Bernie. As you say, we've got 4 teams from Australia really in the running at the moment. Element Motorsports, as you say, up in 6th, TTLR Red in 15th, ERA, Logitech in 18th, and right on the cusp at 32nd, you've got Mad Cow Racing, card with Buttercup, as you say. I followed them a bit last season, and they were certainly quite active in the series. This is, as you know, a qualifying series for the Pro series that comes after this. 6 races, 1 drop round, endurance team racing. It's really exciting, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is, and a few of our teams did make it last year into the World Series or the Pro Series, and that was Element Motorsports definitely had a representation in there. So did ERA, but they've come back out. They have to requalify, and we'll definitely be following their progress as we cover the next 3 or 4 rounds. And part of us covering this, folks, is to give coverage on the Australian time slot and allow the RRTV viewers to follow along with the Australian teams and cheer them on as they do battle out here.
Absolutely, Ben. It's really exciting. Just like in our Monday Night Lights racing that I'm more familiar with you, Bernie, giving exposure to the local time slot for this event really raises the profile, I'm hoping, and also raises the strength of field, which maximises the points potentially for our guys to compete. So looking forward to helping in that way as well, and getting our guys into that Pro Series again, Bernie.
Oh yeah, definitely, and your top 5 teams at the moment, folks. Inex Racing Red is leading the way on 630 points. They're in a Ford GT GT3. The first of the Audi R8 LMSs, VRS Coanda Sim Sport, the number 88, 625 points. Now, Coanda has already qualified, but they've chosen to run this series anyway. Inex Racing Blue, Ford GT GT3 in 3rd, 617 points. 4th is Pure Racing Team Black, and 5th is Pure Racing Team Red. So the guys have finished qualifying, and they'll be queuing up at the moment. We've got 47 teams out here, Alex. Can you believe the amount of cars that are coming on here?
That's crazy, Bernie. 47 teams and at least 2 drivers in each team. They've got to do what they call a fair share of racing, so 1 full stint per driver, essentially, at least. Only a 90-minute race tonight, rather than anything up to 4 hours in some of the other races. So it's almost the endurance equivalent of a sprint race, Bernie. But to qualify for the main game, once it starts, you've got to have done at least 1 race and scored points one race out of the 6, and a maximum of 4 drivers per team as the guys are now taking the grid, Bernie.
Yeah, they certainly are. And let's have a look at the way they're lining up here, folks. So Shinya Mishimi Sim Racing Yellow, they will start from pole position with the 126.679, followed by Black Star Racing Gemini out of second, MSP Drivers Home 1 out of third, ERA, the MPMS team, the first of the Aussie teams there, in fourth. Dream Factory is in fifth. I hope we've got the right split here, folks. Team Husaria in sixth. Oxygen Racing will start out at seventh. Fusion Racing GT out of eighth. SRB Racing B will start out at ninth, and BSR J Blanco Team Red will start out of 10th.
Yeah, we might have grabbed the second split here by the looks, Bernie. It's so hard to tell which one to go into, and we've had trouble getting into the splits at all previously, but some of the names we were expecting to see were not at the moment, but hopefully we're still in for a great race in this pro qualification series, Bernie.
Yeah, hopefully, and we apologise if we're not in the top split, folks. We'll definitely try harder next time. Triton Racing's going to start out of 11th, Probatum Racing out of 12th, MSP Drivers Home 2 out of 13th, Red Face Racing, the number 1 team, out of 14th, 15th, Vendevol Sim Racing Azul. Out of 16th is Dream Factory 2, followed by Odox Motorsport Samsung. Then we have Champsai Racing out of 18th, Sailors 19th, Bazungia Zenith team out of 20th. Out of 21st is Team GTNF, followed by Black Star Racing Fornax. Black Bull Racing will start out at 23rd, 24th, MSP Drivers Home, followed by ERA MS Limited Edition, the number 727, out of 25th. Out of 26th is DPR, followed by GT Temple Racing. Then we have PND Racing out of 28th, 29th, XRS Team Blue, and Team R Endurance is starting out of 30th. Out of 31st is Team Vikings, followed by German Sim Racing. 33rd, GTL Virtual Racing Team Silver, followed by JCL Sim Racing BES in 34th. 35th, German Sim Racing, the 815. Out of 36 is Soda Competition Esipes Red, followed by E41 Racing Team in 37th. Apex Racing Academy will start out at 38th. 39th is Jim Racing Grey, followed by Extreme Motorsports in 40th. Out of 41st is Vendevol Sim Racing, followed by Sim Racing Portugal, and then we have Road Blue out of 43rd, AAA out of 44th, 45th, Virtual Drivers. Starting out of 46 is Pelunkin Racing Team, and rounding out your field of 47 is KRF Motorsports.
What a chock-a-block field, eh, Bernie? Lucky they're doing a rolling start tonight here, otherwise we may not have got through all that. But yeah, difference to the skippies that I'm used to, a rolling start, which you'd think could make things a bit easier, but judging by what I've seen of the earlier races, action-packed is one way to describe it, mate. All these guys going for pro licenses are going hard at it, Bernie, so the start should be really interesting.
Yeah, it certainly will be, and we're just getting everything sorted here with our overlays, folks, and we're definitely going to be racing very shortly as we see them now coming up to the start-finish line, and we'll be racing here.
Yeah, they're underway now as they come into turn 1. Pretty clean up the front as I start scanning back down through the field. No major dramas that I've seen yet. Oh, there's one off through the outside of turn 1, but generally speaking, pretty clean by the looks, Bernie.
Yeah, it definitely is a clean start here, and we can see at the moment Kim Eriksson is leading the way, followed by Filip Matreveski in second. Anthony Winkleman, good start there for the ERA driver, sitting in third, followed by Rol Diago in fourth, and rounding out your top 5 is Lucas Jescard for MSP Drivers Home.
Yeah, great start for the local driver there, Anthony Winkleman, as he looks up the inside of the second chicane there, the turn 7 complex. He's going great. Great to see the Australia-New Zealand club flag up so high early on, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is, and he's running third in the Audi. Now, what I've heard, the Audis are really competitive in this series, and so we can expect good things from this car.
Yeah, whilst it's not a mixed class series, it's a mixed car series, so different tracks will suit different cars. The interesting thing about this series is once it goes live in the Pros series, after the qualification, you won't be able to change your car. Originally they spoke about limiting or choosing cars, or if there wasn't an even split of cars across the field as it made up, eventually they'd assign cars to different teams just to balance things out, because as you can imagine, the Pro Series being right up the top echelon and the top tier of racing and iRacing, iRacing themselves wanted to make sure that the manufacturers got an even split of coverage and participation. Certainly again in the qualifying series, once you picked a car, you have to stick with it, so you're going to take the good with the bad. You're going to have some weeks where your car is really suited to a track, and other weeks where you're going to be behind the eight ball, so to speak. But ultimately, I think the driving class will show out, Bernie. They say setup is a minor thing compared to the skill of a driver, but I guess we'll find out tonight, won't we, Bernie?
We certainly will. 90 minutes around Zolder. Zolder's quite an interesting circuit, isn't it? It's those chicanes, you don't want to hit the bollards on the inside, because if you do, you're definitely going to launch your car.
Absolutely, Bernie. Bit safer here in that you're not in an open wheeler. You could probably take a bit of side-by-side action in these things as opposed to the open wheel skippies that I'm used to. I know that any touches there will end your night pretty quickly. Certainly here, a bit of fender damage might affect your aero a little bit, but it's not going to end your night. But those chicanes, as the field's getting through really well when you think about it. No big major incidents as yet. You're not going to go too side by side through there in an endurance race either. You don't want to take yourself out early. You want to settle your pace, settle in, and hopefully bring it home in one piece, Bernie.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. An hour and 26 minutes of this race to go. They really want to, as we always say, buy a ticket to the last 30 minutes here. So the driver's job, as you said, is to get that car in a safe position, in good condition, and hand over to the other driver a bit later on. And that's exactly what Anthony Winkelmann's doing for ERA at the moment. I also saw Peter Smith's out there. He's another Aussie for Fusion Racing GT. I think he's one of our Aussie guys.
Oh, great to see another one up here racing, Bernie. We may not have got the top split, but at least we got a couple of Aussies to cheer on. Not that we want to sound too biased, but we do carry a bit of a torch for the Aussie guys. Peter Smith, as you say, sitting back in 7th at the moment. I'm really impressed so far. I mean, I was expecting a bit of carnage, to be honest, after I did a bit of reading and there's a bit of footage around of some of the earlier races. And I'll tell you, the first race at Monza was... it was like you'd gone to a smash-up derby through the first chicane. But with 3 chicanes more or less here tonight, you might expect a bit of carnage, particularly early on, while guys are trying to potentially get some position. But super impressed so far tonight, Bernie. If this is standard driving we're expecting to see coming in the future rounds, I'm really looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, definitely, and hopefully next time we will get in the top split, folks. And once we get used to some of these names, because it's quite a unique position RRTV's in to be broadcasting at this level. So once we get to know a few names, we promise you we will get the top split. But at the moment, let's focus on this race, and it's looking like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernie. You mentioned some of the challenges, or even... The logistics of this series must be amazing when you think about it, because we had trouble enough finding the right split tonight, which is a little bit embarrassing in some respects. But then you think about 3 splits of up to 50 cars each. They've only done 2 races in this season so far, and yet you've had over 400 teams, let alone the amount of drivers in each team, participate already. So the sheer scale of this thing is incredible, and that's what both the pro element, the pro license qualification element will bring out, but also team racing, team endurance racing. I've only done one team endurance race in this class. It was prior to the professional license element coming into it, but I think it was one of the most enjoyable races I've had, just knowing that you're not just banking laps for yourself, but other people are relying you to keep it straight and bring it home, and it was a lot of fun. So I can really see the appeal of this category, both for the chance to qualify for the Pro Series, but also to have a good race night with your mates.
Oh, definitely. At this level, though, a lot of these guys do have the pro license. I think they have to have it to run. But you're saying 400 teams. Out of those 400, only 28 go through to the World Series. So you can imagine you'd have to come here with your game face on, plus many more set-up guys and all sorts of things to race at this level effectively.
Yeah, absolutely. First things first, you've got to be able to qualify for the top split. So, in general, the top split strength of fields have been hovering around the 5,000 mark, give or take. Some have been just under, some have been just over. So you've got to get into that field to begin with. You've got to hold an A-class license, which not the hardest thing in the world to do. You just got to drive clean and in the right series to get there. But then you think about the standard of drivers that are going to be competing. Last season saw the likes of we've had a loss through turn one by the looks, Bernie. Did you manage to catch that one?
No, I didn't. Did you get a car number?
No, I just drove past it, unfortunately. Let me see if I can find it. While we do that, that you saw the likes of Gregor Hutu last season even. He was the top driver in iRacing. He participated in this season, this race category last season. It was fascinating to watch. I watched some of the live broadcast there of the pro season once it went live, and it was fascinating to see some of the names, the really big names in the sport, come out and play. So guys that would traditionally go in the Formula One World Series for iRacing come out and play in the tin tops. It certainly has an appeal across the board by the looks, Bernie.
Oh, it certainly does, and we're trying to find where that incident happened. I think it was Marco Briechli. We'll jump back and have a look at him, but he may have come to grief here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to find it myself. It's a bit challenging in a field this size, unfortunately. But yeah, he certainly he turned it around through turn one. I'm just gone past it now, unfortunately. I'm just trying to find it. Where's that? Have you managed to find it yet?
No, it's all right. We'll skip that and just get back to calling the race, I think.
Yeah, it's probably the best. Yeah, no, it was Adam, car number 5, Adam Sibielak of Team I can't even say it, Husaria. I'm sorry, Bernie, but yeah, it's probably best to get on with the action, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. We'll just have one more time here. So he's in Team Husaria, Adam Sibielak. So you're saying he had a bit of a spin turn one. Looks like he's out there circulating again without any damage.
Yeah, he's back in P18 at the moment. Obviously not where he wanted to be given he was up the pointy end, but at least they've been able to continue. It doesn't look like he's carrying much, if any, damage, and he's no doubt working to get his way back through the field.
And I tell you what, up front here, Kim Eriksson's leading. He's pretty much checked out. And what I mean by that, he's already got a 1.3 second gap over Filip Mitroveski in second. And he's got a gap of 1.1 over Anthony Winkelmann. And further back in fourth, we're looking at Raul Diago, 1.6 seconds. And Peter Smith now, he's up to fifth. And he's having a bit of a battle with Raul. But he's also got to watch out because Marcin Skizpak isn't too far behind him.
Yeah, it looks like we might have just lost another one in the midst of that, Bernie. Was it Felipe? I'm just trying to find him now. I'm going to jinx myself again, Bernie. I just saw someone dropping down the order, I thought, and might have missed it. But, yeah, great to see Anthony up the front still in third position. Yeah, you're right. They're starting to settle down into their regular lap paces. They're doing, for the most part, their best laps are probably in the 127s up the front end of the field. Marson in P6, he's done a 127.3 or just a 127.4, just under, as the fastest lap of the race, coming out of P7. But the pace certainly looks on up front. The guys down lower in the field are lapping in the 28s and 29s, some even higher than that. So there's a fair spread of times across the field, but the guys are settling down up front into their race pace by the looks, Bernie.
Yeah, and we're having a look down at 12th at the moment. We've found another Aussie driver sitting in 13th at the moment. That's the ERA driver, Blake Neck. And Blake's a really good driver, and he's bringing that Mercedes up through the field slowly. But I tell you what, further in the pack here, the guys are very busy with a lot of heavy traffic.
Yeah, it looks like Blake just made a nice move up through the last chicane. Looks like he might be carrying a bit of damage on the bonnet there, Bernie, from an incident earlier on. Currently sitting in 12th, as you say. Doesn't seem to be hurting him too much by way of lap times. He's done a 127.7, which is only 3/10 off the top time of the night. So he's lapping really well. He's up 13 positions from his start, Bernie. So must have suffered a bit in qualifying, but certainly running strongly in the race, given that there's been not a great deal of incidents, all green flag racing, and he's really earned those positions by the looks, Bernie.
Oh, he certainly has. We're riding on the roof of his car at the moment, and it's quite interesting. I've been speaking to a few guys before tonight, and they were talking about the cars that are competitive, and the two cars that have shown to be quite competitive is the Audi and the Mercedes. And ERA, it looks like they're splitting at the moment. They've got some driving the Audi and some driving the Merc, so they're hedging their bets there.
That was the words I was thinking myself, hedging your bets a bit. Yeah, look, as we spoke about before, you're going to have to find the balance of the different types of cars at each track, and some are going to outperform others. But hedging your bets like that may not be a bad option, as although you can't swap drivers either across teams. So they'd have their A and B squad, so to speak, and if they're fairly evenly matched in talent. And you can't swap drivers between the teams, as I understand it. So, one team will bank on one type of car and the other will bank on the alternate make or manufacturer, if you like. And it might just be that, some guys are really strong in a particular type of car as opposed to the other. So part of it will be hedging the bets for the team overall, potentially. But again, you might be playing to the strengths of individual members within the team.
Oh, definitely. And the other big trick with team racing is you need to be able to pair up your drivers with the same sort of ability, but also they need to be looking at driver and car setup, as we can hear in the background. There's been a bit of an incident going through the chicane, but I'm not surprised if you have a look back here in 25th at the moment, Alex. It is crazy.
Wow, there's quite a little pack forming there, isn't there, Bernie? They all look like they were on a Sunday morning or a Saturday morning hunt through the local shop's parking lot there, Bernie, all looking for a spot or a way to get through in the traffic. But once again, everyone getting through cleanly by the looks. I haven't seen any major incidents other than people losing it themselves. Really, really impressed so far by this field, Bernie. As we said, it may not be the top split, but they're driving in a really high quality fashion so far, Bernie.
Oh, they definitely are, which is what I'd expect at this level of racing. And it's just going to show, the level of racing that iRacing's now offering for the GT3s. Last year was the start of the Blancpain Endurance Series. They also run the Sprint Series. But, it's great to have this sort of multi-car racing offered to a lot of our drivers. I know a lot of Aussies love it, and it's good to see them all out there competing.
Yeah, absolutely. A bit to what you were saying before, we saw that pack going through those chicanes. You're right about finding the right balance between drivers as well. So some guys will like the loose the loose rear end, so to speak. Others will like it really tight. Some guys will like to rotate the car on entry, with a nice front end bite. Others will like to rotate it mid-corner, trail braking. All sorts of different styles can come into play. You kind of want to take the same lines and work to the same outcomes in terms of lap times, but how you get there can be different. So along with the variations between the individual manufacturers' cars themselves, individual variations in setup and matching drivers to each other who can have similar styles is really important here. It's one of the fun elements, I guess, or the appealing elements at least of teams racing, and throw in the mix all the different manufacturer cars and the difference in those as well, and you've got an exciting mix, Bernie.
Yeah, you certainly do, and we're having a look at Bruno Fontalba. He's running in 10th at the moment. He's starting to put a bit of pressure on Jose Almeida in front of him. So we've got an Audi versus a Merc here, and it's quite interesting because Santiago, he shows his nose, he's trying to outfox the car ahead of him, but at this level of racing, these guys are used to that, and they're not going to crack so easily.
No, they'd be wanting to hang on to a top 10 position, Bernie, grab as many points as they can. As Bruno outbrakes himself, he's gone through the chicane on the inside there, he's missed the first part of it, no doubt picked up a slowdown, and he'll be under threat from Santiago in 11th place behind him, no doubt, Bernie.
Yeah, well, it's going to be interesting to see how he serves that. And we're actually riding on board when he missed that chicane. There he goes. He's pulling over now to serve that penalty. That's going to bring Santiago up behind him in the Samsung entry, and it may even help Blake Neck close this up. But it looks like Bruno's served it, and he's eyes forward again.
Yeah, so it's dropped him off the back of Bruno in brought Blake and Santiago back into the race, and maybe they'll have a race in 3 if he can get back onto his own pace. Hopefully he can find his way back to where he was, but also take the other 2 with him. It'd be great to see Blake fighting out for a top 10 position, along with Anthony, of course, running up in 3rd, who's looks to have dropped right off the back of the top 2, Bernie. He looks to be about 3 seconds behind Philippe in 2nd, and Kim Eriksson, as you say, is being kept honest by Philippe, but is 1.2 seconds out, with Raul Diago and Peter Smith along with Marson in 6th place. Those 3 drivers are coming pretty close up to Anthony in 3rd place. I'm not sure if he made a mistake or maybe copped a slowdown as we saw previously, but he's really in a pack of 4 now that have the potential to make things really challenging for him, Bernie.
Oh, definitely. He's going to have his work cut out for him. Looking at the times, they're all lapping in the 127s. Anthony did a 127.642. Roll behind him, 127.878. But now, of course, Anthony there's nearly contact back there with Peter Smith and I think it's Marchin for Triton Racing. He threw the car in there, and I was holding my breath. I was expecting contact, but he managed to get away without contact.
Yeah, Marchin had a big look up the inside, didn't he? Reminiscent of Shane Van Gisbergen in the Supercars race I watched this morning. He had a look and had second thoughts, but it was too late for Mr. Van Gisbergen, unfortunately. Marchin was able to pull out of it, that one, and keep going. Marchin's currently the holder of the fastest lap, so he's probably got itchy feet trying to at least attack these guys closely, as we see Peter Smith now putting real pressure on Raul Diago in front of him. That pressure, of course, plays in the favour of Anthony Winkelmann, who's back out to a 0.8 of a second lead. He's from this pack behind. It's, as long as those 2 keep fighting, they're not catching him and giving him the opportunity to break away. But of course, the 4 of them together, they're watching their mirrors more than they are watching in front potentially, and again, it's allowing Kim Eriksson and Philippe to really clear out in front, Bernie.
Yeah, it certainly is. So your top 5 at the moment, folks. Kim Eriksson, he's for Black Star Racing Gemini. He's pretty much led this race start to finish so far. We've done 14 laps. He's led 14 laps. the gap back to Philippe, 1.1 seconds, and that's Shinya Michimi Sim Racing Yellow in second. Then we have ERA MPMS 725 in third. Fourth is Dream Factory, followed very closely by Fusion Racing GT. And it's great to see a BMW out there in the top 5 at the moment and looking quite competitive.
Yeah, it is, Bernie. The BMWs were quite popular in previous seasons from what I understand, but I think, as you've noted tonight, the Mercs and the Audis are really running away with it in general. They've been pretty popular since they were released. I think it was last season was their first season. I own the Audi, is probably the only one out of this series that I own. I used to race the Rough previously before it was retired from this season when the Mercs and the Audis came in, and that was a great fun car to drive. But yeah, look, great to see some tight pack racing up the front. We just had a question from one of our viewers on the stream page about the strength of field, Bernie. I answered him there, but for those viewers who are interested, the strength of field tonight's 3,891. So clearly we missed out on the top split, unfortunately, because the strength of field in that is usually around, like I said, the 5,000 I rating mark. But still, plenty of points on offer here tonight. I noticed looking at the results of this series so far, guys in the qualification zone, if you like, in the top, say, 30 to 35 or 40 positions, they're generally all scoring the bulk of their points in the top split. There's a couple of teams who are in that running there who've had races in the second split, so it's not impossible, but certainly the big points that you need consistently to qualify for the main series when it arrives needs to be gained in the top split, Bernie.
It certainly does. Quite honestly, if you're not in that top split, it's going to be next to impossible there to qualify in those final 28 spots. And but you know, these guys, they're not going to give up. They're going to give it all they can and see how far up they can finish. But now we're seeing Marchand and Peter Smith. Marchand on the outside, Peter on the inside as they come through the hairpin. Still too wide, and Marchand's really trying here. Still side by side, coming up into the final chicane. If Peter can hold it, no, he's backed out now and let Marchand through. Marcin, I don't know. Markin, how do we pronounce that, Alex?
I'm going to go Marchand with you. I think that was the best way. It was an interesting little series of corners there, Bernie. Peter took the defensive line into the corner at the bottom end of the straight, and then that, of course, left him vulnerable once they exited into the final chicane, and he made a really sensible decision there just to let Marchand by through the final chicane, save the car and live to fight another day, Bernie, as Marchand, who still holds the fastest lap at a 1:27.249 by my reckoning. He's moved up now into fifth position, into the top 5, up 6 places from his starting position, Bernie, and certainly working to make his way through the field.
Yeah, he certainly is, and a few guys were asking about any Aussie blokes in the top split. Yes, we do. We have ERA out there looking quite competitive. Ian Ford is one of the drivers there. If you caught our V8 supercar race last night, Ian did an amazing job out there last night, and he backs it up again. Mad Cow Racing, another one. Elements Motorsports, as we said earlier, and then TTLR is another team. Unfortunately, folks, we're in this split, which is, I think, the second split, because quite honestly, we stuffed up.
Well, I'll tell you what, it was challenging, wasn't it, Bernie? I mean, I saw Ian Ford's name in the list of drivers for the split that we entered, you know, we've rolled the dice almost, and we've come up snake eyes, so to speak, which is unfortunate. But you know, this goes to show we're still learning with this. It's a marvellous opportunity for RRTV and for the local drivers, as we said. So we'll live and learn from this one, and certainly be better for the run, I'd say, Bernie.
Yeah, and the top split was 5,400 and I think it was 82. One of the viewers, 5482 was the top split, and this one is 3891. The best driver, Aussie driver that we have having this top split at the moment. Anthony Winkleman, ERA MPMS 725, doing a great job there. He's 6.3 seconds down from the leader, but he's lapping in the 128, so he's a bit off the pace. Most of the guys around him are in the 127s, but saying that, Raul Diago is keeping him in check, but he's not closing in.
No, he seems to be holding station at the moment. Although, is he just moving up? Yeah, look, he's catching Philippe here at the moment. Bernie's pulled up right behind him by the looks. Maybe Philippe had a moment there. I'm just going to go back and have a look. But Philippe is pulling over and looks like he's letting him by, Bernie. No, he's going into the pits. He must have had a moment.
Yeah, well, we were riding with Raul there, and I had to hold my breath because there was a BMW sitting across the track, and Anthony, Raul, March, and they all missed it, but I reckon someone would have nailed that car.
Yeah, most likely. Oh, yeah, I can see up ahead. I'm just watching Philippe now. Oh, gosh. That BMW has done somersaults, and I reckon the Russian judge has given that a 10, Bernie, if it was in the Olympics, and that slowed Philippe right down, and that's allowed Anthony to take over second spot as Philippe went straight into the pits, Bernie.
Yeah, and we're just, I'm trying to find this replay. I'm having absolutely no luck tonight with replays, would you believe?
Oh, I believe it 100%, Bernie. It was on the back straight, coming into turn 8, that final corner at the back end of the straight before you head into the final straight section and the final chicane, as they come out of the turn 7 complex. And I don't know the car number, but there was a BMW there that was just flipping through the air, as only, I guess, sim racing cars can do, and it looks like it held up at least Philippe, if not Anthony Winkleman in first place as well. They both got held up, and I think even the leader may have copped a little bit of a touch there, Bernie, by the looks, if it was him, or a decent touch, if I'm not mistaken, as well. Yeah,
it was. Kim Eriksson was the leader. He's dived in the pits. He's got a lot of front end damage and rear end damage on that Audi, and he's bringing it in to get that car serviced, and it just goes to show how quickly your fortune can change, because he had a huge lead, but that's allowed Anthony Winkleman to take the lead now in the Audi. He's got a gap of 0.7 of a second back to Raul, and Marchin, well, he's still marching forward, I had to say it, in third.
Of course you did. No, I've just had another look at that incident, and you're 100% correct. The lap car was Travis Davis, and he made his way through the turn 7 complex as he was heading down into turn 8. Looks like he's got his rear onto the outside as he's gone through that complex, and as you say, he was at right angles across the track, and unfortunately the leading two cars have come through, and that's a massive accident. And yeah, that's played right into Anthony Winkleman's hand. Bernie, we could have an Australian guy not only on the podium, but certainly fighting out for the lead at this stage, Bernie.
Yeah, and it's early days yet, though. We've got an hour of this race to go. We're having a look at Travis Davis now, and we'll stay with him, because where this incident occurred is just about 3 corners up. Probably the worst place you can have an incident, because the guys are arriving so quick. It's almost like a blind corner. As we can see now, he got it crossed up into the fence. Yep. But then he ended up sitting across and, straight into the leader. Bad luck to the leader, I tell you. We're seeing the second driver also looking like he's going to cop damage as well.
Yeah, we did. He ended up running into the stationary, the leader at the time, and that was an amazing incident. I mean, it's always a nerve-wracking a time of the race where you go through and try and go past a lapped car, but honestly, the leader there, he had nowhere to go. He literally had nowhere to go, and neither did the guy in second. They're both under full throttle at that point. You're not expecting to be a car to be laid and stopped, at right angles to the circuit proper. And like I said, really unfortunate for those two who had really cleared out. But like I said, luck's a fortune for Anthony there. He's now 1.1 seconds in the lead with Raul and Marchin behind him. And Marchin, who again is still our fastest lap holder. We were talking about him making his way through the field earlier on tonight, Bernie, and again these circumstances have played right into his hand as well, and I suggest that if that sort of pace is kept, he might be putting pressure on Raul and Anthony for the remainder of the race, Bernie.
Oh yeah, he's definitely got the pace, hasn't he? And he's just got to get those moves, and I think if he gets in the lead, he's going to probably get a gap. But saying that, all the front three guys now are in the 128s. The fastest of the last lap was Anthony Winkleman with the 128.025. So the Aussie bloke's doing a great job out there.
Yeah, he looks like he pulled about 3/10 in that last lap, Bernie, as we see Marchin mount the the curb there as he goes through the first chicane at turn 5. The other people that have benefited out of that were some of our previous people that we covered. Peter Smith, now up into 4th place, Bernie. That's a great sight to see. And then again, I think it was our other Australian driver, Blake Neck, was it? He's down in 8th place now in a pack of quite a few cars, actually, all within a second of each other, all the way down to 12th place, Bernie.
Yeah, and Blake's been moving forward gradually in that beat-up Mercedes. Last time we saw him, he was sitting around about 11th or 12th. Now he's up to 8th, and part of that was the two lead cars there coming to grief. But he's still doing a great lap, consistent lap. He's doing 128.262s, and just ahead of him is Santiago Niza-Ferrer for Odox Motorsport Samsung, also doing a great job out there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Blake and Roberto Zini, who's just behind him. Both of them, if you can believe it, are up 17 spots off their starting positions, Bernie. So that's a great result. I mean, neither of them are lapping the fastest on the track, but they're obviously putting good times or good race paces. Blake goes up the inside there and grabs I assume he's passing a lap car because he didn't gain any positions there, Bernie, but both he and Roberto have got through cleanly through that lap car, which is well done. But yeah, so neither of them are lapping, lightning fast compared to the leaders, although they're in the ballpark. But looking to secure a top 10 finish after those incidents we saw before, but also, like I said, an outstanding effort. Both of them up 17 positions, Bernie.
Yeah, this is definitely an outstanding effort, that's for sure. And that purple car that we saw being lapped, that was our previous race leader, who's had to dive in and get that car fixed. We've also got quite a beat-up Mercedes out there at the moment, and just having a look who that is. That's Huzo Haitala for Black Star Racing. He's got no bonnet on that car, but he's still putting in reasonable laps.
He won't have the air conditioning on. He won't need to by the looks, but yeah, I can't imagine the air on that car would be fantastic. But again, he's in that pack of 4 or 5 cars fighting it out. What have we got? We've got 7th through 12th. They're all within a second of each other, starting with Santiago in 7th and finishing with Bruno there in 12th place. As you were saying, we've got Huso without a bonnet there, but still circulating okay. But still up the front, if we look, we've got Anthony in a close fight with Raul and Marchin for the top 3 positions. Anthony, the local guy, holding his own and staring down the barrel if we keep up this pace and this type of race at holding on for a great victory, which would be awesome, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. And a few guys were asking if we ever heard of John Peasnick. Well, yeah, I'm quite familiar with John. He's quite an operator, and I'd say he's in the top split, and a fantastic driver, it must be said.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernie. A shame that we managed to miss that one, but fantastic to see at least some Australian New Zealand club representative here, representation, I should say, with Anthony in first, Peter in 4th, and I think Blake in 8th. So we've got 3 in the top 10, Bernie. So a good points haul for the club tonight on the cards.
Yeah, definitely, and it's probably just the most important broadcast we've got this week, if not this month, and we've got the second split. But it's better than nothing, I guess, and we'll just do better next time.
Yeah, well, the quality's still pretty good, Bernie. Like I said, the footage I saw of some of the top split races, particularly that first round at Monza, as I said, was remarkable, is the only way I could describe it. Some of the choices people were making. I know the nerves will be really hot. Guys excited the opportunity to qualify for their pro licence, and if you can picture the scenario, Bernie, you've got 50 cars all barrelling down on that first chicane at Monza, turn 1, and I reckon about 20 of them, at least, if not 30, didn't make it through cleanly. Guys taking escape roads, guys just barreling into each other, guys returning from escape roads and T-boning other drivers. It was insane. So I was expecting a lot of carnage in this race. Top split, second split, it didn't really matter, but I've got to say I've been remarkably impressed with how these guys are going. No major accidents, other than of course the ones that really changed the nature of the race, with the lap car having that incident taking out the leaders. But realistically, that a racing incident is a term that's tossed around a fair bit, that there was not much anyone could do about that, Bernie. A lot of it was out of the control of the drivers, and certainly not something like a silly mistake, as there's a lot of action here, as they're passing a lap car up the front 3 cars, and they've got through there cleanly, Bernie. Martin really putting pressure on Raul now. It'll be interesting to see. Raul's taking a slightly defensive line initially, but in the braking zone they've both pulled in line astern, and Martin decides to leave it for another lap, Bernie.
Yeah, he did close up, didn't he? But he's just biding his time. And I think, the first round there would have been a lot of carnage, because a lot of these guys wouldn't have raced each other. And after 3 rounds, they're probably getting to know the guys a bit more around them, and the different abilities, and that's just going to improve the quality of the racing as this series continues. And of course, RRTV will bring you the rest of the rounds now, from round 3 all the way up to round 6, so you'll be able to catch this. As far as the top split races go for this round, folks, if you get up 6 a.m, it will the next race of this round will be broadcast by the Sim Racing channel, and you can find that on iRacing Live. They broadcast the 6 a.m. split. We do the Saturday night Aussie split. So you can definitely jump in there. They have, through the weekend, I think there's 3 opportunities the teams have to race, and then I think they get their best result goes to the points. But I might be wrong.
No, that's right, Bernie. You've got 3 opportunities, just like all official races. You can race as many as you want during the week, but there's only 3 on offer for this series. I'm just watching Adams in position 10 at the moment, trying to get... He's just got past the lap driver by the looks. He's got... who looks to be coming back at him, to be honest. And I was also watching... the pit stops have started to occur, Bernie, for guys that... haven't had incidents. It looks like some driver changes going on. Julio in position 19's just popped in for his stint. He's now in 20 as the other drivers go past. It's an element of racing I'm certainly not used to on a regular basis. Great fun to drive with your teammates and let them hop in the car and take over and use that facility that iRacing provides. But certainly the strategy element comes into play as well, because in these endurance races you've got to have that fair share concept, as you're probably aware, Bernie, where you've got to have a certain percentage of the race run by both drivers. So you can't just plonk in your quickest driver and then do a splash and dash with your second driver, so to speak. But the guys have really got to think, or the teams rather, have really got to think about how they play those cards. At the start of the race, you might have a strategy worked out, but as the race progresses, you might, as we see Huso, who's dropping down the field, he's had a spin at the final chicane by the looks. I'm just going to go back and have a look and see how that happened, Bernie. Car number 76, Huso Hayeda. I think Oh, he's been rear-ended by the looks, Bernie. I don't know if you caught that.
No, I'm still trying to find him. There's so many cars out there. It's a bit crazy at the moment.
Yeah, it was our friend with the no bonnet. He he was coming into the final chicane, and the driver behind him, which was who was that? Adam Sibalak, has missed his braking point and just run straight up the back. Adam then went on to go into the pits, and then unfortunately. Who was it? It was Husso, who we were watching before without the bonnet, got turned through that last chicane, and he didn't get the opportunity to go in the pits, I don't think. It's an interesting pit lane entry here, Bernie. Guys will want to brake later than normal because you've got that extra runoff, but I've got to say that's a pretty poor judgment of that to take out the guy in front. It's a bit of a risky way to enter the pits, Bernie.
It certainly is, and I can't find that replay. I did have a look. You're doing a better job than me, Alex. I might have to get you to take over the camera work here, but at the moment Anthony's leading for ERA. 1 second that gap's come out. Raul Diago second, Marchand third, Peter Smith sitting in fourth. If we look for Blake Neck further down, he's... where is he?
He might have swapped out, Bernie.
Yeah, he might have swapped out because he's not on my my boards here at the moment. We can also see Kim Selvis and Team Vikings in there for their pit stop. Having a look at the average times, they're pitting between 31 to 37 seconds, seems like the normal time. A few of the other guys have stretched it out to 50, some are even done 61 seconds, so I guess that's going to be how much fuel they take on, tyres, driver swap, that whole thing. And as we know with this series, they fill the cars, then they can change the tyres, and I think they can they change one tyre at a time now instead of two to keep it in line with this series.
Okay, I haven't investigated that, but that'd be interesting because previously it was, you take tyres for the most part, but it's particularly in the longer races, you definitely take tyres. It's even to the skippies, which use road tyres, of course. Here you're using full racing slicks, and because you're racing with so much power in these cars, of course, and the really racing on the edge, you do tend to wear your tyres, and when you've got a long race like this, Bernie, you are going to do that. And the other thing that can take into account when it comes to the length of pit stops is something I've learned recently with the Australasian Super Skips practice races where we have been doing pit stops. Little tips and tricks you can pick up along the way about how to fuel properly. You got to be able to stop the pit stop when the fuel's right, and it can take too much time. And pit entry, pit exit, you've got to get it all right to maximise your opportunity to be overtaking people or even not losing time in the pits, Bernie.
Oh, exactly right, and we only get the times of when the car's stationary in the pits, but as you said, this is a very tricky pit entry, and if you get it right, you can gain. Exiting the pits has its own risk, and that is you're merging out pretty much onto the racing line here at Zolder, and you really have to be on top of your F3 board to make sure when you're coming out you're not going to collect people. And we can see now Marchand, he's ranging up on the back here, but then he just doesn't have the pace to make a move on Raul at the moment.
No, you're right, Bernie. They're all running pretty similar times. Previous lap for all three was between 1:28 flat for Anthony and 1:28.2 for Raul in second place, and Marchand did a 1:28.1. So they're right in on par with each other. Certainly, with barring mistake through any of the corners, being so close in times, you're not going to see guys just make a draft pass or just a clean pass here without the mistake of the guy in front. Marchand there just made a slight mistake through the turn 5 chicane complex as they head into the turn 7 complex now, and that's dropped him down to 1.3 seconds, 1.4 now, as we also see Peter Smith, another local guy, ranging up on the back of Marchand now to put pressure on him. He's caught up now. He's only 0.7 behind as Marchand takes a tidal line to the apex through turn 8 there, Bernie. I think Peter had the cleaner line through there and will be looking to put pressure on him even more, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. And Peter's in the BMW, so he's probably doing everything he can to hang on to the back of the Mercedes and the Audi ahead of him. I'm assuming this guy is an Australian. He's Fusion Racing. Maybe I'm getting him confused with Fusion Sim Racing, which is an Australian team. For any of the viewers out there know, just definitely put it on the channel so we appear to know what we're talking about.
Yeah, that's right. I've just checked his club. He's UK and Ireland, so the team might be Australian based, but he's a UK driver. So, but Peter Smith, that's as good an Australian name, I reckon, Bernie. But regardless of that, he's ranging up on the back of Marchand now. Marchand, who does still hold the fastest lap of the race, certainly hasn't improved on that. That last lap mistake that he made through this very chicane that they're going through at the moment cost him time to the point of probably 1.5 seconds almost off his normal times, or 1 second at least. He did a 1:29 dead, Bernie, whereas Peter did a 1:27.9. So that's how he's managed to come up on the back. And Marchand's now a full 1.5 seconds behind Raoul in second place, Bernie.
Yeah, it doesn't take much, does it? And now our race leader, Anthony Winkleman, he's starting to lap cars. You can see him flashing their brake lights, moving over to let them through. And it's great to see the drivers that are a lap down. They're definitely keeping an eye out for the fast guys and keeping this race going. It was very unfortunate earlier on that we did lose our earlier race leader, but as you said, there was nowhere he could go, and there was nothing the BMW driver could really do at that point.
No, you're right. I mean, hard to apportion blame other than mistakes from pushing really hard, and the mistake was on the lapped car, obviously, but the leaders, as we said, had nowhere to go, and both of them copped a lot of damage out of there. I think both of them have since changed drivers, and the cars are still circulating, but we saw the former leader go a lap down at that point. He'll be hoping to get that back. Meanwhile, our top 13 drivers are really the last guys to pit, with the exception of 18th place Thibaut Vernice, who's, as I said, down in 18th place. That car hasn't pitted yet, but the top 13, Bernie, are the last ones to pit, so I'd expect them to be ahead of the cars that have pit, who are all at this stage, from my reckoning, a lap down, the cars that have pitted, Bernie.
Yeah, they are, but what should happen is that once they all pit, it'll wash out, the field will resettle. We can just see Alex Q now taking service in his Mercedes. Another interesting thing about this, it's quite unique for this track, is when they actually come into the pits, they go through a little chicane, and right to the left of them are all the fuel bowsers, and we'll actually show you that when Anthony does come in the pits. We'll jump in to his cockpit so you can actually experience that uniqueness about this track. To me, it seems really dangerous, but maybe it's just the way they do things over in Europe.
Yeah, it could well be. I noticed Anthony, I don't think he took a quick repair there. Alex Q, who, as you said, is in the pits at the moment, looks to be maybe carrying on. I haven't seen a driver change there. It looks like he didn't use a fast repair. I know in the Pro Series, once it goes live, they don't have a fast repair. I'm not sure if they have one in this current series, the qualifying series, Bernie, but he's still in the pits. He's been in there for over a minute, which is quite a long time indeed by the looks, Bernie. I'm not sure if he's actually doing a driver change or he's waiting for a bit of damage to repair, Bernie.
Yeah, he's probably getting that damage repaired, and meanwhile Marchand, he's starting to close back up on the back of Raoul there, and it took him a while, didn't it? He lost a bit of momentum, and it's taken him a couple of laps to get that back, but now he's got it, and he's probably scratching his head. He's probably wondering what does he need to do to get past this guy.
Yeah, absolutely, Benny. You're right. He's cleared out about nearly 1.5 seconds from Peter Smith in 4th place. Marchand, look, he seems to have the pace. I've said it a few times, he's got the fastest lap. He lapped about 0.3 of a second ahead of Raoul and Anthony in 1st and 2nd position last lap, which has allowed him again to range up. He's only half a second behind Raoul. Raoul's about a second behind of Anthony Winkleman in 1st place. So, realistically, Marchin's going to put pressure on Raul more so than Raul and Anthony. That both Raul and Anthony will be looking in their mirrors, keeping in their F3 relative screen, keeping an eye on the guys behind them, watching the gap, and certainly, the mental game of trying to look forward and not behind will be playing on their mind at the moment, Bernie.
Oh, definitely, and it's a big trap, isn't it, when, I know it's a trap I fall into if I'm driving in close quarters with a lot of guys, is constantly looking in the mirrors and missing the apex. And once you start doing that, you drop right off the pace. You really have to, as they say, eyes forward, ignore the people behind you and just focus on your marks.
Yeah, absolutely, Bernie. I mean, you want to try and get consistency overall in a race this length. You want to be racing, within half a second each lap or better if you can, just to get that consistency, particularly up the front. You're going to have issues with lapped cars as we see the leaders now ranging up on a couple of lapped cars, Bernie, and that's going to affect your lap times. It's a real skill getting around lapped cars. It can be a very nervous time for both the cars being lapped and the guys going past. You just, there are blue flags, but there's not always a clear indicator of the right way to go, left or right. The guys can, of course, in iRacing, talk to each other over the radio and call drivers through, which is a big advantage. But, the guys being passed are often in a race in amongst themselves. So, it's a really difficult situation, but the guys so far, aside from our one incident that we saw earlier, have handled it really well.
They certainly have, and we see now Anthony's diving in on the chicane, and and we've lost Raul as well.
Yeah, I'm just going to go back and have a look at that. We talked about the difficulty there of getting through, and I'm just watching Marchin's gone into the back of car 60 of Raul there into the chicane, Raul probably slowed up a bit for the lap cars, and as a result we see Marchin run into the back of him. No, he just one of them missed their braking markers there, I think, Bernie. Either Marchin broke late or Raul broke early, and Raul's gone to turn in, and Marchin's just hit the rear right hand panel and turned him around, unfortunately, Bernie.
Yeah, he certainly did, and I think they got a bit balked because they weren't sure what Anthony was doing, and meanwhile Anthony's down here in fourth position because he's taking service now, and we'll see just how that goes, and we'll see if they swap drivers. But the other thing about these strategies with tyres, they can choose to take no tyres, 2 tyres, 4 tyres, so there's a whole range of strategies they can go. Now Ian Ford is in that car, so you're right, we did find the split with Ian in it, and he's down there in 7th at the moment while they take service, but that's released Marchin now, but of course he's got to come into pit. Raul also has to pit, he's sitting down in 3rd after that, and a long way, 9 seconds down. Peter Smith is 0.3 of a second down on Marchin.
Well, I feel a lot better now knowing that Ian's in the race, Bernie, because that's who we were looking for at the start. He's just come out of the pits now, Bernie. He's sitting in 7th place after a 30-second pit stop. He's had the best of the pit stops so far, Bernie. So with a 30.9 stationary time, that's going. Not only were they in first place prior to the pit stops, but with the best pit time, that's going to serve him in great stead, Bernie, I'd have to say, as he came out in 7th place, as I said.
Yeah, and that's one thing ERA are really good at, is strategy, and they've mastered the art of that strategy, especially in the long races. If you want to see a great race, folks, tune in for last night's V8 Supercars on RRTV. It was a corker of a race. Not going to tell you who won, but definitely have a look at that, and you'll see a lot of strategy being played out there. I just had news from one of the spectators, there's no fast repairs at all in this series, so that's why Alex was sitting there taking so long to get serviced.
Yeah, he beat me to it. I just saw that too, Bernie. So yeah, that's there are compulsory repairs and there are optional repairs, and once you pull into pits to do you've got to do a stop here to both to change drivers and to take on fuel, so there's a compulsory stop at least, obviously. If you pick up enough damage, you're going to be in the pits for a while. So I can't remember who it was we saw missing a bonnet before, Bernie, but I imagine they will spend a decent amount of time in the pits, Bernie.
Oh, for sure. And there has been some retirements down there, and we'll go through those shortly. We've got so many cars out here that my telemetry, as always, is having trouble keeping up. But that generally happens when we get such a huge field. There's 47 cars out there at the moment, all in this race.
Yeah, I'm just watching Raul Diago, who was sitting in second for all that time and had that unfortunate incident with Martin into the Turn 5 chicane, the Turn 7 chicane complex. He's just pulled into the pits, Bernie. He was sitting in third at the time, not yet stationary as he passes a number of the stationary cars now. Do you realise we're down to 33 minutes, Bernie? We're over halfway in the race, which is amazing to think how quickly time's flying. Raul's pulled up now. He's been stationary for a couple of seconds. I haven't seen a driver change yet, Bernie, as he falls down the order. But he has now. Daniel Herrera has pulled into the car as the pit stop continues, and but Marston up front, who is leading the race at the moment with Peter Smith 2.1 seconds behind him. He's yet to pit, Bernie, but I'd suggest it wouldn't be too far to go that he'll need to get his co-driver into the car to make sure that the fair share rule has been applied, Bernie.
Yeah, definitely. I'd expect him in the next lap or so. 32 minutes to go here. Is he going to dive in now? No, he's not. He's going around again. If we can have a look at where ERA are, they're sitting in 6th position at the moment after their pit stop. And I'm just trying to see... Daniel Herrera is behind them. They did a 31.2 second stop, so a good fast stop there for ERA.
Yeah, so to me it looks like Daniel Herrera, who took over that car from Raul, is, as you say, sitting at 8th place at the moment. He looks to be just over 10 seconds behind Ian Ford in 6th position. Similar stops, only 0.3 of a second in their pit stop, so it looks like that team was certainly on their game along with ERA. I'd suggest the only guys in front of Ian Ford have yet to pit. And he's the leading car that's pitted, and he is only 1 minute behind the leader at the moment. And given that you're looking at least a 30-second pit stop, plus your pit entry and exit under pit limiter speeds, I'd say there's a very good chance that Ian will be taking over the lead of this race once the pit stop sequence is run through, Bernie.
Yeah, I'd be definitely expecting that, and we'll see how these guys filter through. And I tell you what, having Ian driving that car for the last part of the stint as Martian's in now. So let's jump into the gyro, just so you can see how tricky this entry is. And just up here, you'll see them go through this little chicane, and as I was saying, to the right, all these petrol houses.
It's like a petrol station there, isn't it, Bernie? So it'll be interesting to see. Martin's led 5 laps now of this race, whereas Ian's car, the ERA car's led 18 to this point. Now, if I'm watching Ian at the moment, he's just hopped the curve at the Turn 7 chicane complex. I'm not sure he got under full throttle quickly enough. Not sure if he had the slowdown, which might affect him there. He certainly didn't take very clean lines through there at all, Bernie. Looks like Martin's handed over to, I'm going to call that Peter, in car 191. They're still stationary in the pits by the looks as Ian's coming into the final chicane now. They did a 30.4 second pit stop, Bernie, so half a second quicker. It'll be interesting to see if Ian will be able to peg them coming back out of the pits. Well, it's going to be tight, Bernie. Ian's coming into the first corner now. As they exit the pits, he's going to be just behind Bernie, but certainly in the running.
Yeah, we can see right behind there is Paul Searle in the BMW, so he's jumped a spot. If anything, Ian's probably dropped 3 spots at the moment, or 2 spots, because Piotr Jagondin's Peter Triton Racing 30.4 seconds. Now these guys have got a huge gap, haven't they, after these pit stops go through?
Yeah, they really do. So Paul Searles hopped into that car that was run by Peter Smith prior, Bernie, if I remember correctly. They did a 31.9 second pit stop. Now, whilst that was a second slower than the ERA car, they've still managed to put together some tidy laps to, despite having... Oh, no, they didn't get an incident previously. They put in some tidy laps and they've come out just in front and managed to find their sort of race groove in time. Realistically now, they're only 3 to 3.5 seconds behind Peter, I'm going to call him, in P4 at the moment. They would be, I would suggest now, the leaders on corrected times of this race, Bernie, as there's still only 3 cars ahead of them that need to pit, but these guys will be fighting it out for the podium, I'd suggest.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And now Ian is throwing it on the inside. He's having a look here at Paul. He's really got to try to clear this BMW so he can start reeling in Peter and fight for this win.
Yeah, I'd go along with that. He had a good look there, compromised his line a bit, so his exit wasn't fantastic, and he won't have the draft up this main straight here, Bernie. He's got to get past quickly if he can, so he can try and chase down Peter at the front, but he can't afford to battle for too long here, again, because he doesn't want to lose time, as we've lost Santiago, who was in the lead of the race, Bernie. He's just pulled off to the side and stopped by the looks, Bernie.
Yeah, he's towed that car back to the pits. We'll jump back and see if we can work out where he's come to grief. But yeah, I just saw him on the side of the road there, broken down.
Yeah, I'm just going to see if I can find him, Bernie.
Yeah,
see what happened to him there.
Yeah, he's broken his suspension. I suspect one of those big curbs in the chicane has jumped out and bitten him and taken a chunk out of the right side of that car. But we'll have a look.
Oh, yeah, so I've just found it. Car 77 has tagged him coming into the first chicane, and then had a second bite at it too, to be honest. Turned him going through the second part of that first chicane complex at turn 5. Tagged him in the rear in the braking zone, and then he's gone in for a second bite, hit him in the left hand rear quarter again, turned him head on, and then really give him a third nudge on the way out and really just broken that car. That's a shame for Santiago and his team there, who were not on corrected times leading the race, but certainly in first position prior to their pit stop at that point, Bernie. That's quite a shocking incident, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it was full on, wasn't it? And as you said, that's pretty much ripped the rear suspension to pieces in that car, and not the way we want to see drivers end up. But at the moment, the leader is Peter, and then Paul Searle right behind. Well, not right behind. He's 4 seconds down, and then we've got Ian Ford fighting. So Ian's still on the podium at the moment. His closest rival is Dream Factory Daniel Herrera, and he's about 8 seconds behind this battle pack.
Yeah, Ian and Paul have just cleared a lap driver there who let them go through cleanly at turn 8. Paul had a bit of trouble getting through there through the turn 7 complex, but they managed to get through in turn 8. But what that did was that allowed Ian to close to within half a second again. He'd sort of lost a few tenths on the laps preceding that, but now he's right back in the hunt. It's allowed that sort of slowdown with the lap cars allowed Peter to clear out in front by about 4 seconds now, although he's cleared the lap cars in between them, so he's doing really well. So that car that we spoke about earlier in the night having the fastest lap and still has that, lapping in the 1:28 now when it comes to getting through all this lap traffic that we see now. Really, perhaps not surprisingly, you might have been able to predict it with the pace that car has and the drivers in there. They've made their way through the field. They're up 10 positions from their starting spot on the grid, Bernie, and they're doing a fantastic job out in front.
Yeah, they certainly are, and the guys behind them, Paul and Ian, they're lapping in the low 129s at the moment. We know the Audi is capable of the 128s, but they just need to get past this car. But saying that, at this level of racing, if you look at the pit times they've been doing, apart from Paul, he did a 31.3. There's only 0.4 of a second between our leader, Dream Factory, and ERA, and they're all pretty much lapping at the same sort of pace. So it's going to be really difficult for ERA to progress, or even, I think, get up to the lead at the moment.
Yeah, really tough. They're sitting about 4 seconds behind the leader at the moment. I just noticed Julian from Red3 Racing, who was in P7 at the time, had a lose at turn 1. Probably a bit far to go back at this point in time, Bernie, but his trail braked and overcorrected and spun out of turn 1, cost him at least 1 or 2 positions. But once again, I'd suggest, on the whole, Bernie, the quality of the driving here has been really excellent. Not many incidents, bar the couple that we've seen, that have been other than just guys losing it on their own. So really high standard here tonight. Really impressed, Bernie.
Oh, it's fantastic, and I tell you what, one guy doing a fantastic job out there, KRF Motorsports. These guys were up the back of the field. They're circulating at the moment. 14th, Jason Harmsworth is driving that car at the moment. A little bit of front end damage, but they've moved through the field quite well and doing a great job.
Quite well is a slight understatement, I'd say, Bernie. I'm just checking now. They're 33 positions up on the grid, which is incredible. Only topped, from what I can see, by Thibaut Vernice in P10 at the moment, Bernie. That car number 4 there has jumped 35 positions on the grid, Bernie. That's quite a night out at the party, you'd say, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, that's right. And it's been a brilliant drive by both of those cars, and it goes to show that these guys would have kept out of trouble and avoided all that carnage around them. And, they're in the top 20, and that's a great result. I reckon if you told them they were going to get that at the start of the night, they'd take it.
Oh, you would, absolutely. I mean, neither of them are lapping in stellar fashion. Their best lap's about half a second off the pace for Thibaut in 10th place, and Jason Harmsworth, who's driving car number 16 in P14 at the moment, up 33 spots, as we said. They've done a 28.5, which is 1.5 seconds off the best lap of the night. But having said that, consistency is obviously their go. Both of them up such a massive lot of spots from their starting positions, Bernie. Like you said, I'd be extremely happy if I was the teams of those drivers, Bernie.
Oh yeah, for sure, and I'm still trying to work out who has replaced Blake Neck at the moment to find out where that car is in the field, because I've sort of lost track of them.
Yeah, it's hard. I haven't got the team names in front of me, unfortunately. I'm going to have to work on that for the future races, but no, I can't see who's replaced Blake at this stage, unfortunately, Bernie. But certainly Ian Ford up in third position is putting the pressure on Paul Searle in second, lap after lap. They've gained about half a second on Peter in P1, who is himself lapping pretty well, but I think the real chance for those guys to get on the back of him is with the lap traffic. Peter's now lost another half a second to them by the looks as he goes around another lapped car. Ian and Paul now only just over 3 seconds behind, whereas they were down by 4 previously, so they're a second closer. 20 minutes left in the race, Bernie. This is what you pay your money to get in the race for. The last 20 minutes is where the action will be, and pleasing to see a local guy up in the podium spots, Bernie.
Certainly is, and we found the missing driver. We had him up on the camera earlier, and that's Elliot Biddle. Is driving with Blake Neck. He must have been looking at the TV screens because he started flashing his lights as he went down the down the back straight. Maybe he's just saying, "Hey, I'm here." pay some attention to me, but it looks like this car may have been having a few internet connection issues. He has dropped in and out a few times, but yeah, there he goes, flashing his lights again. So
yeah, we got one of our viewers helping us out here as well, Bernie, in the stream chat. So Elliot's up 19 spots with his racing partner tonight. Again, a fantastic effort, making your way through the field like this is no mean feat. He's got a bit of bonnet damage, which I think we might have pointed out before, but still, he's going great guns there. Now I'm looking also, that driver we spoke about previously down in 16th who'd got up 32 positions, Jason Harmsworth, he's from the Australian New Zealand Club as well. So, great to see some Aussie talent driving that way that we described before to help them get through the pack like that, Bernie. A fantastic effort.
Yeah, it certainly is, and KRF's they've been around for quite a while, running in V8 supercars, GT3. They're probably one of the longer teams out there. Quite a competitive team, and Kimi Rural Fencing sponsors that team, which is why they're KRF Motorsports.
Yeah, excellent to see them out there running so well, Bernie. Fantastic showing from the local guys. So we've got the three Australian New Zealand guys that I can see out there at the moment. Ian Ford in third position, of course, Elliot Biddle in sixth, and Jason Harmsworth in 15th, as we say. So great representation for the guys here. Good points here in what we think is the second split, and hoping to maximise their haul from the night, Bernie.
Yeah, that's right, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Trying to maximise those point haul. And as we said, these teams will no doubt have another 2 chances, and some of these teams, they will run in all 3 rounds to maximise their points for the weekend, which means a lot of the Aussie guys, it's going to be a lot of work for them this weekend. And I know they put in a hell of a lot of preparation and focus to get their teams right for these events.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, realistically, his Ian Ford one's a little bit wide out of turn 4 there, Bernie, as he lines up the main straight and into the first chicane, just going past another lap car there as he tries to put pressure on Paul Searle. Yeah, I mean, realistically, why wouldn't you take it seriously? I mean, you've got the Pro Series licence on the line, big cash money for the winners of those series, and the opportunity to race against the best in the world. Like I said, last season, the name that stood out for me, the driver that stood out for me, I should say, was Gregor Hutu. I don't know if you've seen, but there's a mini documentary called The Fastest Alien on Gregor Hutu. Viewers, if you're interested in seeing what the best iRacing driver in the world does on a real track, there's about a 30-minute doco on Gregor Hutu out there online that you can find, where you see him run his paces in a Skip Barber and then a Star Mazda around Road Atlanta from memory. Fantastic little doco, and well worth your time watching. But like I said, you want to put the effort into this series, because to have the opportunity to race against guys like that, who last time I checked was 1,000 I rating ahead of anyone else in the world, and at 9,800 odd I rating, that's an incredible feat, to be honest. So you want to take it seriously. You want to get into race against those guys, measure yourself against the best yardstick there is, Bernie. So everything to play for, and a lot of fun at the same time.
Oh, exactly right, and the Blancpain Endurance Series, it's a World Championship. You're at the pinnacle of this form of racing, and semi-pro, probably the closest a lot of guys are going to get to pro in iRacing at the moment. And then, of course, as you said, Gregor Hutu, normally from the Formula 1. You also got the NASCAR guys racing as well, and I know a lot of those guys that race at the top level, they can't do it unless they've got a great engineer on board and a great team manager, and that's what a lot of the Australian teams are starting to set up with now, is setting themselves up with great sponsors, great team managers and car setup people to maximise these opportunities they're getting to race at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Guys are taking it more seriously. It's still ultimately a hobby and great fun, but you want to take it seriously because why not? You're investing so much time, and but you still want to enjoy it at the same time. But maximising your fun out of it and enjoyment by doing your best. Just noticed Ruben Velasco from Jim Racing Grey, who was in P16 at the time, a little bit, probably about a minute or so ago, coming through turn 8, has just got on the gas a bit too quickly and lit up the rears and turned himself of his own accord, Bernie. So once again, no cars making contact, guys making their own mistakes and running their own races. Again, good quality driving, Bernie.
Yeah, and just coming into turn 1 just then, Ian, he was ranging up on the back of Paul there, but he was unfortunately on the wrong side, and then you could see how Paul used the lapped traffic just to box him in a little bit to get that corner back. So Ian's definitely back on the back of him now and starting to put the pressure on. Now the good thing about Ian is he's a really good, he's a great driver, we know that, but he's got a great head on his shoulders, and he definitely knows how to put the pressure on, and also knows when to make the right move and when to try to cut loose and get a gap.
Yeah, look, with just under 14 minutes to go now, I'm just watching that battle, and you're right, he's just sort of putting half a car width off the racing line on the approach to corners as he has a big look up the inside of turn 1 there, Bernie. But again, really good spatial awareness there, no touching, didn't really compromise his line out too much, but at least put the pressure on enough so whatever compromise he did made meant that Paul still, looking up the inside there, didn't get away because he was worried about it. But he's driving really well. From what I've seen so far tactically, he's really just putting on as much pressure as he can. They're running such similar lap times, both in the low 129s last time round. So like we said previously, not one fast and so fast that the other will either get away or get past easily, and it's really just a pressure to pass game here. No big draft pass opportunities, not really draft pass kind of cars either, if I'm honest, from what I understand. So it's really about driver skill, putting pressure on, how they both cope with the pressure, because as much as Ian will be watching the clock and putting pressure on himself that way, Paul in front will be similarly counting down the clock, but for a different reason. He wants to stay in front. But at the same time, they're catching Poiter in front. They're now only 2.6 seconds behind Bernie, where it was 4 before. 12 and a half just under to go. There's still time for them to catch it. Ian sort of got a poor run by the looks out of that final chicane, just under a second behind, but between them, I'm sure they're hoping to catch up to Poiter in first place.
Yeah, they're definitely pushing, aren't they? And I'm really impressed with how Paul's going in the Fusion Racing GT in that BMW. I didn't expect the BMWs to be all that competitive around here, but it's definitely holding its own out there. We've got a Mercedes leading, BMW second, Audi third, and then Daniel Herrera, well, he's in another Merc for Dream Factory in fourth.
Yeah, good mix of cars as they go around. I was just watching Daniel Herrera go past a car that had spun through that turn 4 section there, Bernie, as he heads through the chicane now and goes past yet another lap car. Again, not a lot of incidents caused by guys bashing bumpers or anything like that. Up ahead now, there was a bit of action again through lap cars, so I thought it was Ian and Paul coming together maybe, but speaking of Ian, he looks to be about 1.2 seconds behind Paul at the moment. Paul seems to be gaining on Poiter. He is lapping not that much quicker, if anything, a little. Oh, he's just spun through the last chicane and Ian's gone past, Bernie.
Yeah, we'll have a look at that and just see exactly what unfolded there for Paul.
Yeah, I'm just going back to the replay now. He's braked very late, actually onto the apex of the first left-hand part of the chicane, Bernie. Braked too late and the rear stepped out, and he hasn't been able to correct that and spun it round by the looks, Bernie. Probably a bit of mental fatigue there. Like I said, it's just that he broke as he was approaching the first apex of that chicane, Bernie, by the looks. As I watch him come into that corner again, he broke at a reasonable spot, and just trail braked, probably a bit too heavy, if anything. Bernie didn't slow the car up enough for his liking to make the corner, and then held the brakes a bit long, and the back end stepped out, Bernie.
Yeah, and that's put him down about 7 seconds from Ian now, and Ian's about 3.4 seconds down. Also, it's bringing Daniel Herrera back into play with Paul. They're separated by about 4 seconds.
Yeah, down to about 3.3 now, as probably Paul's trying to settle his nerves and get back into his rhythm. But yeah, it's sort of broken up that battle up the front, and looking down the remainder of the field, it's all pretty spread out at this stage. The closest thing to a battle I can see is down in 16th and 17th position. You've got Nicholas I'm terrible with names here, Bernie. Nicholas and Ruben fighting it out for 16th and 17th position, separated by only half a second there. They're 2 laps down from the leaders as Nicholas almost loses it through that first chicane there at turn 5, and that's cost him a little bit. Still only a fraction behind, but unfortunately that mistake by Paul really broke up that battle for the podium positions, as Ian's now, as you say, he's now pushing out towards 4 seconds behind Peter in first place, and Paul in third is a further 8 seconds behind. It looks like Ian lost about half a second in that last lap, and I wouldn't say he's settling for second place, but may just not have the pace with just under 9 minutes to go, as he gets very loose out of the final chicane, Bernie.
Yeah, and Paul's coming up on the back of Nicholas in that McLaren, and I wonder what Paul's singing, because these two in front of him, they're having a ding-dong battle right in front of him, and he's got to try to clear him. And he knows Daniel Herrera is only, 3 seconds down the track.
Yeah, 3 seconds behind and closing a bit probably, and Lubomir behind him in 5th is 2.1 seconds behind Daniel. So look, there's still opportunities for those guys, I guess, with Paul maybe down a bit on confidence, particularly coming into this final chicane where he made the mistake previously. He doesn't look to really be making any attempt to pass at all. He probably realises these two are in tight locked battle, so to speak, for their own race, and he just may not want to get involved at this stage. Those two again fighting hard, as Nicholas pokes his nose out but doesn't have a real look into turn 1. But yeah, so Paul really just sitting behind, maybe watching his relative screen, with Daniel now 3.4 seconds behind, with Lubomir catching him more than he's catching Paul, Bernie.
Yeah, and that's what he's got to keep an eye on, isn't it? Is that relative, because he doesn't want these two backing him up into Daniel Herrera. But likewise, you can see how hard these guys are battling, and the last thing he wants to do, as Nicholas throws it in, and now look at Paul. He got through one, he's right on the back of Nicholas, and he makes the move. Good driving.
Yeah, look, he's got through there comfortably. Tell you what, that'd be really opening the eyes wide in the mirrors. Just see the guy behind you that you've just passed put him another lap down, and he's braking so close into that chicane, Bernie. But the guys did well there. There was a big move on the inside there of the turn 5 chicane, and whilst he made that work, Nicholas then I even saw him touch lightly on the brakes to let Paul through there. So good smart driving from all concerned, as well, as Nicholas nearly loses it through the final chicane, right behind Paul, sitting in third now, 8.5 seconds behind Ian, who himself is 3.5 seconds behind Peter in first place, Bernie.
Yeah, and then Daniel Herrera, he's 3 seconds down from Paul. Rounding out your top 5, those we've got Lubomir Schweitz for MSP Drivers Home. He's sitting in 5th, and he's not too far down from Daniel. He's only 0.8 of a second, so there's still a bit to play for 4th and 5th with 5 minutes to go. And then in 6th position is the other ERA car, Elliot Biddle, in that car, doing a great job. The other Aussie out there, Jason Harmsworth for KRF Racing. He's the last guy on the lead lap, 82 seconds down from the leader, and sitting in 15th position at the moment.
Yeah, Elliot Biddle in 6th position, as you were saying. He's 31 seconds off 5th position, so probably settled for 6th at this stage. Lubomir in 5th spot is right on the back of Daniel. He's less than half a second now. He's lapping similar sorts of times, but he's certainly ranged up on Daniel in that last lap or so. Looking into the turn 8 now, the bottom of the circuit there, as Daniel gets his rear left on the dirt trying to get a good exit. He's got a lap car in front of him again, not looking to overtake. These guys are getting really nervous with less than 5 minutes to go now. They'll be wanting to shore up their spots as the lap car moves off the racing line there, and Lubomir and Daniel both get past pretty cleanly there by the looks, Bernie. It's really shaping up as we wind down the clock now.
It certainly is, and that was the Thrustmaster Audi that we saw Paul pass earlier when Nicholas was battling. And now Lubomir's having a look. He's thought he was going to make a lunge for it, but he thinks twice about it. And I guess in Zolder, where do you make this move? Because you're coming around turn 3 here, straight in the chicane. Would you throw it up the in, or he's on the dirt?
Yeah, it's not going to slow him down too much. He's got the best draft opportunity he can there. Daniel looked to take the defensive line, but no, Lubomir's going to pull onto the inside. And to answer your question, he's just gone through what would probably be the best passing opportunity. Bernie got the longest straight there, followed by a threshold braking zone into the chicane. Daniel looked to sort of not commit to the defensive line or the normal driving line there, and allowed Lubomir to go through what was really an open door, and then both of them looked to shift over to the right, and Lubomir made a good threshold braking pass into that turn 5 chicane, Bernie.
Yeah, and if you want to see what a driver with confidence in his car setup looks like, well, we just saw it with Lubomir there, in the way that even he come off the dirt, and I thought he's not going to make that move now. Under brakes, fantastic threshold braking, makes the move through that chicane, and continues on his way.
Yeah, it's interesting because on the inside of that chicane there, you've got a nice line, but the guy on the outside, he's got to be careful, because the apex of the second part of the corner on the right there, the right hand apex there, really big bump. And you can certainly do a bit of damage to your car, if not just completely unsettle it, and the back can become the front there, which is of course not what you want to see. So Lubomir made a great pass there. He's looking now, he's over a second clear, a lap further down the track, and in that time he's cleared out, like I said, now 1.1 seconds. He's probably confident that he had the pace to go on with it, and felt that he was a bit quicker there with 2.5 minutes to go, just about, Bernie, and he looks to have, barring mistake of course, locked up 4th position, Bernie.
Yeah, he's definitely locked up 4, so he can see Paul ahead of him, but that gap's about 3.5 seconds, so I don't think he's going to catch Paul in that time. With 2.5 minutes to go, they're probably only going to get maybe 2, possibly 3 laps, but I think they'll get 2 at this stage.
Yeah, I'm not sure how if they pull the white flag out when the clock goes, or they give them the white flag after the clock goes and one more lap. So, but you're right, he's about 3.1 seconds now behind Paul. I'd suggest he's not lapping quick enough. He was 2 tenths slower last lap from what I can tell, Bernie. Although he just ran, having said that, they've just crossed the line, and he was 0.6 of a second, but with only sort of 1 or 2 laps remaining, he's I'd say 2 laps at most. He's not going to get that gap, I don't think, as he just goes past another lap car cleanly, Bernie.
Yeah, and we can see our leader for Triton Racing, Peter Jagodzinski, 1 minute 20 to go. Now, basically, to answer your question, Alex, what will happen when time's up? They will get the white flag at that point and race to the finish. Now, if they're really close to the finish line, though, and the time's up, I think they do get another lap in. But saying that, a minute to go, Peter is now coming through the final hairpin up to the final chicane, so I'd say we'll get another lap here at Zolder.
Yeah, it looks like 1 lap to go. Field really sort of spread out and settled now. No battles really under a second until you get down to 18th and 19th spots, Bernie, as we see the leader go past another lap car successfully. Yeah, and 18th and 19th is the closest battle now, Bernie. The podium seems to be relatively sorted, barring major incident now. Under 30 seconds to go on the clock. Yeah, I'd say we're going to see quite a almost a sedate ending to what's been a pretty exciting race in parts, Bernie.
Yeah, it's been quite an interesting race, hasn't it, with quite a bit of strategy to play out. A lot of the top 5 guys, which you'd expect. Nothing's separating these guys really, is there? They're all doing the same lap times. The standard of driving's extremely high, which you'd expect at this level, and even the guys being lapped, their standard of driving is very high as well. As now we can see the white flag out for Peter, and he's got about half a lap to go here at Zolder.
Yeah, he's just going through the turn 7 complex there, Bernie, out the back of the track now, making his way down to turn 8 for the last time. He'd be, trying to put the nerves aside, but he probably won't even bother passing that lap car in front. There's no need, and to put that pressure on himself, he's got down to a 2.5 second gap, but another lap car in between him and Ian Ford at this stage. Ian's done well to range up behind him like this, but as we see Peter now go through the final chicane and take what is a fantastic win for him, with Ian Ford now closely following him, and Paul Searle just coming through the final chicane now to round out your podium, Bernie.
Yeah, so folks out there, round 3 goes to Triton Racing. Peter Jagodvinsky, the final driver in that car. ERA comes home second, with Ian Ford the final driver in that, and then Fusion Racing GT tops out your podium. Having a look further down, Elliot Biddle for ERA MS Limited Edition in the 727 car. They should come home in 6th position, as they're coming around now to take the checkered flag.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys just streaming across the line now, Bernie, to round out what would be I'm sure, an enjoyable race for most. Not too many red mist moments from guys having incident. We saw, of course, the game-changing incident, as it were, with the leaders taking out by an unfortunate lap car moment. As we said a few times, no one really to blame other than mistakes being made on the night, and the leaders not having anywhere to go as they went past an unfortunately parked lap car. That really changed the nature of the race, but looking, realistically, the guys that finished up front are the guys that managed their race the best. You're looking between, mid a 30.4 and a 31.9 second pit stop for the top 3. So, the other guys in that top 10, but with a couple of exceptions, all in that range when it comes to pit stops. So once again, in a team sport, in this case, the management of their race and the strategy has come to the fore, Bernie.
Oh, it certainly has, and it's been a brilliant race to call. Now, I know a few of the teams out there are probably a bit disappointed that we don't have the correct liveries for their cars. We tried to rely on trading paints tonight, which has failed in certain areas without us getting the right paints, but rest assured I will be putting a post up on the Blancpain Endurance forum, letting you know how you can get your paints to us, so we can show your cars in the best possible light. So if you've got sponsors, they'll also get the coverage here in RRTV.
Yeah, that's right, Bert. It's been a challenging little exercise tonight for us to get set for the first race. Didn't grab the right split. Although we got the driver we were looking for, just he was unfortunately not in the top split. Maybe that was a team driver change or something similar there, Bernie. And then the trading paints. I know I ran mine up in the background to try and get all the liveries down. It took a fair while. I mean, it's the nature of the series, isn't it? You got up to 50 cars in the grid. We had 47 on this grid tonight. So you're looking here at close to 100 drivers at least, assuming two driver teams. And a race like tonight at this length, you're probably only going to see 2 drivers per team. But again, the logistics of that, even in the coverage as we found tonight, a few kinks to work out, but I'm sure as we progress, Bernie, we'll iron out the wrinkles and continue to enjoy great racing.
Yeah, for sure, and we'll make sure we're a lot more prepared for the next round. That's coming on the 17th of December, and it'll be the final race on RRTV for the year, and we'll make sure we do our homework. But a big shout out also to Brenton O'Brien. He did help a lot with getting that information to me today. Without that information, I'm sure we would have been a lot less prepared, that's for sure. And it's been a really good race. Even though it wasn't the top split, I was really impressed with the race tonight, and hopefully the viewers enjoyed our coverage.
Yeah, well, I saw anything up to 74, I think was the most I saw watching the stream, Bernie, which is, a great effort for RRTV. I think couple of things working in our favour in terms of the coverage, Bernie. It's a fantastic series. Like I said to you previously, it's a real coup for RRTV to have this qualification series, the Australian New Zealand split of that series. Hopefully, potentially leading on to the similar for the main game when it starts up. You've got potentially 150 teams each week, and like I said before, so far, not including this week, over 400, I think it was 430 odd teams have competed, so the popularity is going to be there. The other thing going for us tonight was, I think personally, that the standard of the racing, I said it a few times, the GT3 races don't have the best reputation for driving standard that I've seen, certainly, although every series cops a bit of a bad name every now and then, depending on who's talking. But these guys, in my experience, haven't always had the best reputation. But the racing tonight, I thought the standard was fantastic. Like I said, during the race, guys made their own mistakes rather than having the mistakes of others thrust upon them, with the obvious couple of exceptions. No big pile-ups like we've seen in the top split, as I mentioned earlier in the first event of this series. So if this is any indication, Bernie, it's going to be massive, big fields, great driving, fantastic viewing for everyone, Bernie. Great to be a part of it.
Yeah, it certainly is, and for the people out there disappointed that the top split wasn't covered, we did try our very best to get in there. It didn't work out, so we did the second split. You can of course watch the top split tomorrow at 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time, and that will be covered on iRacing Live for that second race, and I'm sure you'll get your money's worth out of that. As far as racing on RRTV goes for the rest of the week, well, Alex, we're back Monday night, aren't we? And we're doing the final round of the Monday night skippies, and that's been a great little series, and we're looking forward to wrapping that up this Monday night.
Yeah, well, this series here, of course, keeps going, but the mainstream of official racing for all the other series pretty much winds up this week 12 of Season 4, 2016. Quite an interesting set of circumstances in the Skip Arbors, of course. We've got the Monday Night Lights, our little series that we run for the Australian New Zealand Club, winding up as well. Positions not quite finalised there, so a lot to play for in that final race. But yeah, looking forward to that, Bernie. Should be a lot of fun again, and those viewers who are here with us tonight, make sure you come and check it out.
Yeah, definitely. So, folks, that's the end of our broadcast for tonight. Thank you for joining us on our first coverage of the Blancpain Endurance Series. We will be back in I think it's 2 weeks' time for round 4, and we look forward to having your company then. But until then, on behalf of Alex McCullough, I'm Bernie Wiemers, and thanks for watching RRTV. I hope you all have a very good evening. Good night.